Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pub podcast. On this episode, we are reviewing the game against Vancouver. So it's like what our fourth loss in a row in the league. So yeah, plenty to dive into here. As always, Derek and Dave are here to pick apart the game for us too. Welcome to the show again, guys.
Thanks for having us back.
Yeah,
Evening, Anthony.
yeah, I really appreciate it. Just before we do get into the game, congrats to Derek on his team winning the league on the weekend. Did I get that right? You
Yeah,
won the
one
league?
of one of the teams I'm coaching is off to
Yeah,
provincials, so yeah.
yeah, congrats, man. That's awesome. Are you looking for a new coaching gig?
No comment.
Provincials don't end until September.
So, it's one of those occasions where you kind of have to like just laugh or you're gonna cry kind of thing. And we talked on the last episode about this is the game that we kind of needed to win. We kind of come out like the Forge game, like those games can go either way, but this was one where bottom of the table. Obviously, they might have the new manager like little blip that they get or the points that you get out of having a new manager and stuff like that. But just looking at the starting lineup, we didn't seem to start. We didn't have a lineup that looked like we were going to go attack them. Like, am I wrong in saying that? What do you guys think?
Yeah, my general feeling was this was kind of a bit more of the same. We weren't throwing any new looks, new wrinkles at them, which would have been good to test the new coach with. I know Martin knows the Wanderers probably quite well from all his coaching gigs, but I thought we would have seen something different, and it might have been important to things to come. But like, no Probo, no Rea. Like, I didn't understand how we were going to break those guys down and how we were going to attack them and where we thought their vulnerabilities were. So that was my concern coming out of the gate.
I didn't understand how we were utilizing Johnston, one of the better central midfielders in the league, and we're playing him in some hybrid wide role. It just right off the bat, I couldn't understand. Like it seemed like an attempt to squeeze the players he wanted to squeeze into the 11, even if the positions didn't suit. And again, I mean, I come back to the fact that, I've said before that I think our roster was built where we don't have enough wide players. We've got too many central players, and now we're trying to force central players out wide, and it doesn't really suit them. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. Like Jimmy Brennan said in commentary, I didn't go to the game, so I watched it at home. But Jimmy Brennan said in commentary, like he didn't quite understand Johnson playing on the left because he's like one of the better center midfielders in the league, and I think I kind of feels that way that we're trying to shoehorn people in. Like I've kind of mentioned this before, we're trying to shoehorn Telfer in there because he's obviously a Patrice favorite, and we're trying to put players again where it's not, like where they don't naturally play. Like I mean, at the start of the season, we had Probo and Raya, Johnson and Lorenzo. So we had like a nice like little four that kind of, you had two that would be able to watch the house, and then you got two guys who were like, probably weren't the best at tracking back, but they were going to create those chances for you. And, like looking at the game on, we were good in midfield because like for the first 10, 15 minutes, all Vancouver could do was just like kick the ball long. And it was literally one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. It was like watching a bunch of kids. Like I think the Timbit kids at halftime probably played better football than what Vancouver did in that first 15, 20 minutes. I've never like literally they were just kicking it to nobody. But then we'd get the ball and like we didn't know what to do with it because we didn't have like a release valve. You know what I mean? Like just looking at the defenders, like it just looked like they had nowhere to go, and we are just passing it back between Kareem and Thomas.
Yeah, and I think so. There's like all kinds of questions I have, and Isaiah, I think, has shown this year like the reason we brought him in is to give us that box to box support Lorenzo. If they're like double teaming Lorenzo and we give it to Isaiah, he can exploit that space, and he's an excellent passer. But like sticking him out on the left side, like, and I was for part of the game, I was sitting over on that side, and it's just like it wasn't fluid. Like I think about the first 8 games of the year, our passing, our movement, like the patterns of play, I thought were obvious and well drilled. the last block of 9 games, it's felt clunky. It's felt like we've moved people around. Um, and I understand, like, and every coach says this, you got to give teams different looks, but I don't think you have to give them this different of a look. And I think when we dropped Rhea Probo, and for whatever reasons those were, they haven't led to the success that I think they thought they were going to get. And again, we highlighted it last week. Telfer Coimbra is not working as a partnership up top. And I actually just Anthony and I were back and forth a bit on SofaScore. And one thing I just dug up, Anthony, because I wasn't really looking at Coimbra. I thought he always has a strong game. Take a guess on how many passes he attempted in this game.
Um, 15, 20.
4.
Oh my sweet Jesus.
So 3 complete out of 4, great passing percentage. But if you dig down, you're like, what? And I was thinking about, like, we never really used them. And
Wow.
anytime we did lose them is try and play those long balls through, and those weren't on. Like, those guys were as big, strong, and fast as he was.
Yeah, and obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that Probo wasn't there, Derek. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on, Josh Healy from the Halifax Post, or is that what he calls it now, the Halifax Post, or
Halifax football
Football
post.
Post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He kind of said last night that the Wanderers were looking to terminate Probo's contract. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that.
yeah, I mean, I think a few of us had heard rumblings that there was issues in preseason and that he was maybe kind of read the riot act a little bit. And so I was honestly a little surprised to see him starting early in the season, but he seemed to have come around and smartened up and was our probably our most creative player, and certainly in the early part of the season when we were doing well. He was our playmaker. I think he still leads the team in either in assists or maybe goal contributions or both. But seems to have fallen out of favor again lately. I mean, it was a bit of a double whammy, like I think for the fan base. I mean, to take that loss and then find out that after watching a match where the team was completely devoid of creativity, that we're terminating the contract of one of our most creative players because of it sounds like some interpersonal dispute with the coach. So, I mean, not a great to get that news on the heels of a bad loss. Like, I'll be honest, like my sense is the mood amongst the fan base, or at least certainly a large portion of the fan base right now, it's pretty dire. Like, the team needs to do something to turn this around, and not just on the pitch. Like, uh, we need some signings or something to come through the door to create some positive energy, because it is not. There's a lot of negativity within the fan base right now, and it's that double whammy of losing four on the hop, and then hearing that terminating contract. I can't. Obviously, we have other tens. We have Rhea. We have Diage. We've hardly been using them either. So I don't. You know, I don't know what brought things to a head with this. I mean, I think the fans have been frustrated to watch these players sitting on the bench, so I can only imagine how the players feel about it. I get that that Patrice rates both Telfer and Coimbra, as I think do most of us, but it's not working to have, as Dave said, not working to have both of them on the pitch at the same time. It's not allowing us to play some of our most creative playmakers in the lineup. And I think we're suffering for it. And I just can't make sense of it. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with telling Thiago, you're going to be our go-to guy as a starter, and Telfer, you're going to be our closer. And yes, they're both capable of scoring goals, but if anything, I would think that one or the other of them would be more effective against tired legs than having them both out there. I mean, we saw this in the game the other day. He keeps them both out for the 90 minutes, and Telfer's cramping up at the critical time when we're trying to score that equalizing goal. And so, it's not there's so many things about the situation that aren't ideal.
Wasn't Telfer playing left back at one stage towards the end of the game?
Yeah, when they subbed in Vitor and
Yep.
Biello, they pushed him to the back and let
Okay.
Vitor play in that space.
like
Which was another experiment from last season, which didn't work. I mean, I think in the early part of last season, we had Telfer playing as a left wing back essentially, and it did not work. So we're now reverting to experiments of stuff that we've tried and not been successful with.
And Anto, I got a question for you. Like, so we've talked a lot about Telfer now. I was digging in. I don't know why. I had a bit of extra time, digging into some of the stats, and like his stats are incredible for the last couple games. Like if you look at them, especially the goals. Um, but to me, what a lot of the stats don't tell you is like time of the game, importance of the lost ball. Like, so you give away a ball, and it was about to be a breakaway versus you give away a ball and it was just a regular pass that got intercepted. Doesn't really do a good job of telling you that. And I think that's where I get my frustration with some of these guys, particularly with Telfer, is like it's like those big moments, making the right pass, having the finish. Like he's had a couple again sitters the last few games, but he definitely helps. But then so like let's put him up top or let's put him on the right wing cutting in and switch Bayer Bahambula over or start Rhea and go with two speed guys at the end. Like those would be the kind of changes I think could be really great.
yeah, I think with Telfer, like the point of keeping him on the pitch was he's one of our strikers, right? So sticking him at left back, like what's the point of that? You know what I mean? Like you want him up there to be like creating chances and creating havoc because like the last 10 minutes was like the game we knew was going to end up being where we're just like they sat back and just let us pile on the pressure. You know what I mean? Like Patrice was talking about, we need to be consistent and we need to start the way we finish games, blah blah blah. But like to me, it's like why not start with that team that finished the game? It was creating all this havoc at the beginning. Like, I mean, like with the Sean Reyes situation, like, I mean, there's no other player apart from probably Lorenzo who can make that goal chance that we scored. Like, that is Sean Reyes at his absolute best. Cut inside a little bit and from the outside of his right foot, just like set that chance up. And it's like, to me, it's absolutely crazy. Like, I mean, I was watched a bit of the press conference after, and some of the stuff that was being said, it just was boggling my mind. Like he was asked about Red starting, and he's like, "Well, sometimes you gotta trust the guys who don't start more than the guys who start." Like, what? Like, what does that even mean? Like, I
And
mean,
that, but doesn't that like, so that just talks to me about the mentality of what we were trying to do in that game. So like, why weren't we out pressing the team that had traveled across the country, played on 3, 4 days rest, and pressing them and like getting our best attacking players to get a lead at home? That's the part that's what makes me question it. Like, if that was against Forge, I get it. I get it.
yeah,
We're trying to play the game tight till 70, and then we're going to go balls to the wall and like go at them. And then if we lose 1-0 or lose 2-1, it's like not saying it's fine, but the fans will accept it. But like you can't lose to Vancouver and have no shots on target in the first half.
yeah. That like I mean, if you can always tell what a game is like when you watch the highlights. I watched the highlights back again today, and up until the goal, like the chances from both teams was absolutely abysmal. Like they had Coimber's block shot that Callum Irving caught like to the wide of the goal, like, and it's like that's a highlight. Like that's how bad we were. Like that's a highlight. I don't want to keep bringing up stuff, but it just like I think press conferences are a really good way to kind of get inside the coach's head sometimes because they just come from the heat of the battle and all that kind of stuff. And he was also talking about like that he wants to keep trying stuff to find like a 10 because he says like we had Ryan Telfer in there, and he's had 3 goals, and then he was talking about Johan Boy was a 10 during the game, which I didn't see any of that. And he's like, well, we want to find somebody, we want to find the perfect person and then keep them in there when they get hot. And it's like, we already had 2 players that were hot. Why are we changing it? Like we had like two guys who were like Probo was like was one of the hottest players in the league. Like and you had him, and then we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and obviously it's still speculation because the club haven't made an official announcement about him leaving. But it's the rumor that's gone around, and to me it just seems absolutely crazy that you're now like past the halfway point of the season, trying to get into the business end of this of the year, and you're experimenting with different tens. Telfer's not a 10. I don't care what anybody says to me, he's not a 10. And Johan Boy is not a 10. He's a winger. You saw a glimpse of how good he can be with the chance he created at the end of the first half when he beat his man. We just don't see enough of it. It's whether he doesn't have the confidence or just he's been told not to do it. But you can see he's got a trick up his sleeve. He can get to the boy line and get the ball in. And Carlos was talking on the Wanderers Ground podcast, and he was kind of saying we need to see the Bahambula and Johan Boy we saw in pre-season. I mean, and I get that. Like they were good in pre-season, but we're like 17 games into the season now. Like we shouldn't be hoping that they're doing what they're doing pre-season. They should be on top of their game. You know what I mean? And it just seems like we're like, where do we go from here? I guess is my question to you about, because it's like it just, as Derek said, it just feels kind of shitty right now. Like you can feel there's like you see the posts on the social media, you see like of how fans are reacting to the loss, and it's not good, right? And where do we go from here? What do we need to do?
I don't look at the Facebook or anything else like that post game. It's out of my diet of things I do. What I can tell you is like I was walking the premium pitch side, and it's just the people that have been there for 7 years are like same old thing, right? That's what you're starting to get to now. Like, and so this to me, like I thought this game was the inflection point. In the end, with the results, like it actually might not have hurt us that badly. But like they got to go. Like they have to start now, and I think they got to bring in at least one, maybe two players. And if Probo's gone, now we need, in my opinion, a center midfielder, somebody that could play one of the wing back positions, and we probably need another striker. If Tavio or whoever is can't be this main striker, we need a backup there. So I actually think three people. I don't think that's reasonable. Like getting two is probably what's going to happen.
I think the good thing about doing like getting in like a proper kind of left back, like left sided player is that it allows you to move Wes into his natural position. Like left wing is his natural position. So it kind of gives you another option that you've got Wes on the left and like Johan or Jason on the other side. So
Oh, and I'm sorry, I just got to jump on that. How many years have we been watching Wes against Data Luke, and not winning that battle? Like
yeah.
that's two managers now, 4 years. He's played both as wing and at the back, and Data Luke basically usually wins that battle most of the time. Again, this is just things that like, why are we? What is the plan? What is the plan there? What was the plan when that left back they had was way faster than I thought he was going to be? I thought they were just going to win all the headers, but he was matching by for pace, right? I'm just like, holy cow! Well, they need a new plan now. So like, get Vitor, get Ray into play in the space between them. So I thought that would have been the natural adjustment.
That's part of the problem, Dave, is we don't have any other real options at left back or at right back for that matter. Like we've got six center backs and six center mids, some of whom have not seen have only seen the bench so far this year, and no fullbacks for depth. And the two guys we're playing as fullbacks are not actually fullbacks. We converted them from other positions. So that's part of why Telfer ended up playing as a left back by the end of that game was, West was unfortunately having a bit of a howler. And what are your options at that point? Jeremy can play as a left back, but hasn't played in months. Would not be match fit at this point in all likelihood. And so, the lack of wide options is really becoming apparent, I think.
I think like like Adam Perlman's a really good player, and he's kind of playing as a right back, but it showed you the limitations for like on the second goal. He got skinned, like because it's not his natural position. I think that's the danger when you play people out of position. That when you get somebody who is in their natural position as a left winger or a right winger in Wes's case, is that it's difficult to play against them if you're not tactically used to playing as a right back or a left back, and I think that's how he got skinned for it. Like, and he's been one of our standout players of the season. But it just, to me, like, I just feel like, at the beginning of the year, we were all very, very enthusiastic about the way the squad was made up. Like, I was really happy. I thought we brought in some really good players, but it just feels like a little bit stagnant. And you know, I was looking today at the under 21 minutes, and like we have like 17,000 or 1,700 minutes or whatever, and like a thousand of that is from Yellow and Perelman, and then the rest is from Coimbra. So none of the other youngsters are getting a look in, and it's like why are we bothering? You know what I mean? It's like that game, and I know it'd be hard to throw like Tavio into a game like that, but what's the point of him being in and around the squad if you're not going to give him a chance? You know what I mean? Like, is a better option to have Biello come on and Telfer play as a left back than have somebody who's a natural scorer, like a natural striker coming on? I don't quite understand it. Do you guys have any thoughts on do we start using like the younger guys, or is it like we need senior players to come in and
Well, and I think we've talked about Alphonse Jefferson. He got in, and I thought he looked very solid and enthusiastic going forward. So, could you play him as a right back, or could we move to an actual back three? Like, I don't know if that's possible right now, and play like a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, and have those play those three center backs with TMG, Kareem, and Alphonse. Now, that's still a pretty young three in center back. So really, ideally, that would be with Mekadesh or Dunn. But again, Dunn's not dressed. I don't know what the Mekadesh story is. But I really think they were relying on him to be coming in and potentially giving them a couple goals as well. And I think I heard that on one of the pods, but it feels like we are missing, like we're creating some great chances on corners. Most of them are coming off of Tiago and TMG. So I don't know if that's even an option, or maybe play a 5-3-2 or 5-4-1 and just like really gum it up. I'm just not sure what that would look like.
Yeah, Nassim is still injured apparently. I'm not sure what the story with Dunn is because I think the last we heard was heading into the Wrexham series that he was close to coming back and might get some minutes with the under 21s to get fitness against Wrexham, and then that hasn't happened. So I don't want to speculate whether he's, had a setback in his recovery or whatever, but we're certainly not hearing anything. The story over a month ago was that he was ready to come back soon, and that doesn't seem to have happened yet. So there's been some kind of hold up there, obviously.
so like the notes that they send out, the pre-match notes that they post on Instagram or that were very woolly. It basically just said that like Mekadesh is injured. There's no word on anybody else. So there was no word of why Probo wasn't in there. There was no word on why Dunn wasn't in there. So like they've been kind of very sparse with the details of what's happening with these guys. And like I'm sure Julian Dunn is a really nice guy, but like he's around the squad now for over a year and hasn't played a game. You know what I mean? It's like what are we hoping to accomplish here? Like, is it just? I know you feel a debt to him because he got really badly injured, and I do feel bad for him. But like, where does he even fit into the team now? Like, because Kareem and Thomas are two preferred centre backs anyway. It's just. It's kind of odd. I will say I thought that Kareem actually had a really good game. He made it like an incredible tackle in the first half, that if he had a missed time that he was off. So there was a couple of like little bright spots. I thought that Lorenzo was Lorenzo. You know what I mean? Like how he didn't get a yellow card, I don't know, but he just breaks stuff up. He's really good at it. But it's
So can we highlight a couple things though, Anto? So I think we all agreed that was not a great game. We're all, I think, ticked off, surprised. I don't know however people want to frame that. But we had a perfectly good goal disallowed on that flick to Telfer, which I couldn't tell from where I was sitting, but the referee had a direct line on who was going to be heading that ball, and it missed the attacker. So unless there was the tiniest touch off his hair, and then that would have put him back offside, but then off the defender's back to to Telfer because he was onside when the ball was originally played, and then it was on the flick. So like again, that was one, and we had 4 or 5 amazing chances in the last 15 minutes, which brings me back to your point of like, let's get some of those guys in there that can create those chances and camp outside their box. I just thought we would just camp outside their box all game, and they were just going to defend for their lives and go for a 0-0. Obviously, like very wrong. But they have a player like that Baugh on the left side who's just all speed. And I find that like Perlman, like he can actually match up really well with the tricky players. It's the guys that were pure speed when he played the German guy from York, like the first game, and then like, he got injured and he was gone. He's been gone for the rest of the year. Ton of trouble with him, and he was just pace. So I find that's where he has his problems. But I would just love to see like Vitor get more time. And again, I so much respect for Rampy, and the numbers of the stats will tell you a different story than what my eyes see. He just looks slow compared to what I've seen from him in the past. I don't think he complements Lorenzo as well as what Isaiah, because he doesn't carry and bring the ball forward, and he's no threat. Guys don't bother tackling him because he's no threat in the attack. They're like, just get Lorenzo, and that will save that. So I just don't know what the solution is there. But I think if Isaiah and Lorenzo stick together, we're going to have way more success, whatever formation we go with.
Yeah, like I haven't watched the game. Like, I thought that Rampy had a solid game for a six. Like that he was breaking up the play and he was just laying the ball off, which is like classic what he does. But then you've also got Lorenzo. They're almost tripping over each other because they're both in the same space, trying to do the same thing. And then you've got nobody in front then who you can give the ball to. Like it was crying out for somebody to be the link up, and we just didn't have anybody. And unfortunately, that comes down to the squad selection, right? And it's very easy for us to sit here and like profess to know what the fuck we're talking about, but at the same time, sometimes your eyes don't lie to you, right? And you can kind of see that from the get-go. When I saw the lineup, I was like, this was going to be slow. We're going to be passing the ball back a lot. We're going to be passing it along the back line a lot, and that's exactly what happened. We had some nice little movements in the first 10, 15 minutes, and then we kind of just went out of the game, and it was very, very, very reminiscent of last year again, where we have a lot of possession and do fuck all with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, and coming back to the offside, like Patrice alluded to afterwards, saying that was like it was a very big decision and things like that, and I get it. Like it was a goal. Like I saw the replay, and but at the end of the day, we shouldn't be dependent on something like that against Vancouver. We should be beating those guys 2 or 3 nil at home. They are not a good team, and they're certainly not good enough to be able to come and steal a 2-1 win at home at the Wanderers grounds. Like as I said, that first 15 minutes was like the worst I've seen any fucking team play in the CPL in the whole 7 years. It was god awful, and they were even mentioning it on commentary that they're getting the ball and all they're doing is just like kicking it long and giving it back to the Wanderers. But then we would just give it right back to them because we didn't know what to do with it. So it was just an awful. It was like watching two chess players who don't know how to play chess. It was very, 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 very strange. So Derek,
Did you?
so go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna throw in. So Derek, like from what you've been watching, like we've been watching this team for 7+ years, right?
Yep.
Like I I find the mindset hasn't changed enough over those years, with the exception of like when we had Morelli. Um, is there anything on mindset that you're thinking about that could help improve this team?
I I've said this before, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but I've always felt like this club doesn't have a strong accountability culture. That it's a sort of a we go again, we take a tough loss, it's we go again next week, blah 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 blah, and we kind of gloss over that, and there's never any account, you hear a lot of excuses there, and occasionally there'll be they make the right noises about, oh, we really got to take a tough look at ourselves and stuff like that. But I don't I don't really see it. Like you see some of the issues that Ottawa's had where their supporters have quite vocally called out the club, and to the point where players or the club or whatever have issued formal apologies to their supporters because of a poor performance at home, or because of a series of poor performances at home, or because of a poor season. And I don't know that I've ever really seen that from this club. So I feel like maybe there's a tendency, it's a club that's very much been built on sort of positivity and good vibes and stuff, and that's all well and good to a point, and I think I like that as well to a point, but I do think there's a point where when 7 years in, you still haven't really come close to competing for a title other than the 1 year in the Island Games, which is a bit of an aberration, and you're you're losing 4 games in a row. You're losing games like this at home. I I expect a bit more than the coach saying, "Well, we got a bad reffing call," and the captain saying, "Well, we got to look ourselves in the mirror." Like I expect a little something more from an accountability perspective than that. So I don't, and again, I don't want people to take that the wrong way, but like I do feel like the good vibes and the positivity only go so far.
I think just a little on that. I think we're almost making the excuses for the players and the manager and the ownership. Like we make the excuses for them. You're like, oh, it was a bad refereeing decision that fucked us over, or the refereeing was atrocious. Like it can't be the referee's blame every game we lose. You know what I mean? Like at some stage there has to be some accountability, and like I've said this a million times and whatever, but it's an expensive day out. It's not a cheap day out. It's like, and the people that are there realize it's an expensive day out and they want to make the best of it and have some fun and like listen to the songs and yada 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 yada. But if we want to be taken seriously as a football team, as a football club, well, then I agree with Derek. Like, I mean, like something has to, wouldn't it be nice if they came out and said like we understand that we're going through a bad patch, yada yada yada. Just something for the fans instead. It's like the I think on Facebook they didn't even post a score. And it's like it's kind of it was like when the tie I think the Tides did that when they lost that 6-0 game. They just didn't bother posting the score, and it's like you got to if you don't post it, then like, you don't have people commenting on it, I guess, right? So it just kind of feels like you're kind of hiding a little bit. So yeah, it, we've got a big game coming up. Like we got a distraction of a friendly tomorrow down in Portland, which kind of came out of the blue. I guess that's just going to be for under 21s pretty much, and players who haven't been getting near the squad. So that's pretty much all of our underage players are probably going to be down there, and we got a tough game against Calgary, who we've never beaten in Spruce Meadows. So like again, like are on a bad run. So we got to take advantage of it.
Yep.
We got to put our like we can't just go there and hope for a draw. Like it's not, you know. I don't mind like losing the game where we've put everything into it, and you look at it and go like we put our best team out there and we're beaten by the better team on the day. Like I've defended a lot of the things from like last year when I thought that we put out our best team. We just you get beaten by the better team. It is what it is. But a game like that, we weren't beaten by the better team. We're beaten by a shit team, and who should not have been like anywhere close to us. And it just feels kind of shitty. And I think hopefully that the guys have a long, good look in the mirror, Derek, and change things around. But that this is where you need your leaders. This is where you need
Yep.
the experienced guys to get into training and not make excuses. And you need your TMGs, you need your rampies, you need like even though Jeremy's not playing, he's been through all this before. And you need them like going into training and away from the manager and just sit down and say like we've got a fucking great opportunity here. Let's not blow it. You know what I mean? So anyway, I don't think we actually talked about the actual happenings in the game. We're just ranting and raving about squads and stuff like that. But let's see what happens with the Provo situation. Obviously, the club hasn't made an official announcement yet, so it's just rumors at this stage. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean,
There,
Josh's stuff is usually pretty solidly sourced. So when I think people were hearing rumblings, but when Josh came out with his story, at that point, I kind of assume
it
it's
kind of makes it all the more bizarre that he was at the fucking game yesterday with his family. So it just
Well,
what's go,
maybe this is
what's
gonna be
going
one of
on?
those steps on accountability, right? Like we
Yeah,
saw it
yep.
similar with Valevsky last year.
yeah.
So if this is like we've all been in that playing or coaching a bad apple that upsets the cart or goes against what the coach is saying, or maybe he wasn't doing what the coach thought. It looked really great to the fans, but tactically it wasn't what they were going for. Then yeah, I get it. Like, but I hope they have replacements lined up because we need help on attack. Like we're not scoring enough. I think our plus minus we're zero now.
Yep.
So we got to get it up to like 15 is kind of the low ball of being top of the league.
But that's where you hope they don't just release like a you know by mutual consent, blah 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 blah, and don't tell.
Well, I think to be fair to the club, like they're gonna protect the player regardless what this is. That's unless Provo's gonna say something, you're not gonna hear that from them. They're too classy, like for that kind of thing. You would have heard from the manager directly, I think, if it was gonna be talked about.
I want to know. Like gossip senses need to know.
I know.
Uh,
Go down and hang out at the Italian restaurant. I'm sure you can find out.
I don't need an excuse to go eat past it. So Derek, I just thought we'd just do a quick little ties roundup.
Yep.
So how's things been going? Harty had a win, which was uh, pretty good. How did
Yeah,
you
and
enjoy
and then we got another draw on the weekend. It's interesting because it was against the Montreal Roses, who are second in the league and have been first at times, and they seem to be the team that brings out the best in our squad. We're unbeaten against them, despite the fact that they're so a win and two draws against them so far. And they've all been, I think, reasonably entertaining matches. It's funny because I mean they scored first, and that took a little bit of the air out of the place. But I think people kind of recovered and got back into the swing of things, and we equalized late. It was Amanda Allen, who's one of the recent additions.
She was really good. I
She was excellent. She got the
Yep,
supporters player of the game.
yep.
So I thought she was very bright throughout. I've been really high on her as an addition. I think I said before she's young, she's an up and comer. She's recovering from sort of a season-ending injury from last year, and I think this loan is part of her rehabilitation process. And so I think we're actually fortunate to have her here for even half a season because I think she's a player that's probably going places in the NWSL and with the national team. Um, I mean, she took advantage of a mistake by the keeper, and it was somebody sort of said, "Well, we only scored because the keeper made a mistake," and I said, well, I mean, more often than not, you do score because the other team makes a mistake, right?
Yeah.
Like the goals that are the goals that are absolute worldies that are just absolutely unstoppable goals are the exception, not the rule, right? You usually
Yeah.
capitalize on, and she capitalized very nicely on a mistake uh, by the keeper, and no nonsense kind of goal. So, but yeah, I thought she looked great throughout. Really excited to see what her and some of the new attacking talent that we've added offer. We brought in another new player in the past 2 weeks, I think, and this was her debut as she went right into the starting lineup as a left back, and she's one of those players that can apparently play anywhere on the pitch. So I think that was one of the big questions was where we were going to see her play. And Not surprised because we've 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 maybe lacked fullback depth a little bit. I think Karima Lamar was originally sort of slated as a fullback, but she's been moved into midfield, and I think she looks better in midfield. But yeah, so Valorant got right into the lineup, and I thought looked like she didn't didn't look like she hadn't been with the team long. She looked like she slotted right in. So I'm actually, you know, a lot of work still to do. We're still well back in sixth place, but I do think that the three additions they made in this transfer window give us some cause for optimism going forward because they've all looked pretty good so far. So
Yeah, like having the option to bring like Kennedy in off the bench is always a nice like little bonus. So like I think they've sat back, looked at where there were deficiencies in the squad and like tried to fix it, which you know I think after the big loss, like this, I don't mean to keep harping on about it, but the big loss, I think Stephen did a great job of steadying the ship because, when that happens, you're kind of worried that they're going to get slammed again and it's just the season's going to fall apart. And Stephen being Stephen, he just organized the team and, he is really good at doing that. And I think, it's nice to see them like get some positive results at home. And I watched the game like most of it, and it, it really looks like that they look so more settled. Like there's
yeah,
no rushing, there's no panicking. Even when the goal went in, they didn't like put their heads down and like they were playing their game and like creating chances. And I think that's important too. That you're giving the fans something to cheer for. So yeah, like it's you
yeah.
know.
The Montreal goal came early, but they settled down pretty quickly after that. They didn't seem to let it rattle them. And yeah, I thought as you said, Steven's good at that kind of thing. It's the first game in a while where they've really had a decent amount of time between games. I think we talked about that last time, how they
Yeah.
had just fixture after fixture. It was something crazy like, 5 games in or 4 games in 12 days or something absurd like that. But
The
uh,
international window seemed to really affect the fixture list, because
yeah,
there's a lot of players that go off on international duty, and I think that kind of condenses a lot of it. And the league is really spread out too, right? Like for the locations and stuff. Um, so they're back at home again this Saturday, right?
they are. Yeah. So they play Vancouver again this Saturday, and Vancouver is, I think, still the team just. Oh no, Vancouver's pulled ahead of Calgary. So Vancouver is above them in the table, but still catchable at this point. So a win would do a world of good for their chances. They'd actually catch Calgary potentially on points if Calgary drops some this weekend. So it's a chance to make up ground on one of the teams that they gotta chase down if they're gonna turn things around and sneak into the playoffs. So
A pretty solid attendance as well, like 3,800, which is pretty good. So on TV, the noise from what's it called again? The section in behind there,
the
the
splash zone,
splash zone.
so yeah.
You could definitely hear the drums and stuff through the TV. So great job to everybody there. So what was the atmosphere like? Were you in the splash zone yourself?
I was actually the capo for the first half, so I was leading the chant, which I was not expecting when I showed up. I think I had a gig the night before, and my voice was already a little raspy.
Uh,
So I volunteered for the first half, and then for the second half, I tapped out. I said my
you,
voice is done at this point. So
you didn't bring the guitar to it, did you? You didn't
no,
like.
I did not megaphone and. Well, another great thing was so they had a lot of the Team Nova Scotia athletes there that are off to the Canada Games.
Nice.
And so they each kind of a bunch of them took a turn on the drums as well.
Oh man, that's
So we got
awesome.
them up and we kind of gave them little shouts, introduced them to the crowd, gave them little shouts out and hopefully gave them a nice send off as they head off to the Canada Games. So
Man, that's awesome. I love
yeah.
it.
So
It's
the vibes were good. Yeah, it
it
was an enjoyable day.
It's definitely it definitely looks like a lot of fun, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it. So at least you can be happy about something, you grumpy bastards. So, lads, tumultuous times at the Wanderers right now. So it's kind of nice having some good stories coming out of the Tide. So let's see where this takes us. Let's see what happens with the Provo situation. As you said, like Josh is pretty on point with this stuff. So be interesting to see what comes from that. I think the game tomorrow is on YouTube. I think somebody posted in Discord later on. So I'm actually appearing on a Portland Heart of Pines podcast on Thursday to talk about the game, so I'll have to watch the thing tomorrow to talk to the guy about it.
Can't wait to hear your under 21 insights, Anthony.
Yeah, I know.
After Tavio scores his hat trick, and you have to put up the case justice for Tavio.
And the thing is, because like I'm like a guest on somebody else's show, like I can't be like a big grumpy bastard about the whole thing. I have to be like,
Oh, you can't?
football in Halifax is amazing, you know. So I have to be like put on my cheerleader hat for football in Canada. So yeah, thanks guys for hanging out. And we'll see what happens on the weekend. Come on, you Wanderers! Come on, you Tides!
Come on, you Wanderers!
Come on, you Tides!
Folks, please. Right foot, please. Time to drink up, folks. Get out. Out to book.